Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition and episode of Martech Thursdays, and it is brought to you by martechai.com. I am Anupama Mitra. I am the correspondent and the moderator for today's session. Our topic today is both timely and very, very critical. Turning data into decisions. Why is it still hard? Despite massive investments in analytics, dashboards, and AI tools, many organizations still struggle, right, to convert data into actionable insights at the right time. Why does this gap persist? What can leaders do differently to bridge it? So that's exactly what we're going to unpack today in this episode. We are joined by three fantastic speakers, each bringing a new, unique perspective. Firstly, Ronak, Chief Marketing Officer at 361. Dhaval Jain, Brand and Digital Marketing Consultant. Sneha Banerjee, Independent Consultant, New Media Strategy and Partnerships. Thank you all for joining us such a last moment. Thank you for all being here. So I'll just start with a very common question. Like according to a recent New Vantage Partners survey, 91% of the companies are increasing investments in data. So, but only 26% describe themselves as truly data driven. To kick things off, I would like to ask each of you, like, why do you think it is so still hard for organizations to consistently turn their data into timely, effective decisions? Let's start with Ronak first. Yeah.
Thank you, Anupama, for having me. And I think when we talk about data today, the irony is quite striking. We live in an age where we have more information than ever before. Yet, as you rightly said, almost 70 to 80% plus organizations still struggle to make confident or timely decisions based on this data, right? And with AI and analytics now, which has given us incredible processing powers, it's fast, efficient, and in real time basis. The real challenge lies actually elsewhere. I think ensuring data quality, and I think the second challenge, in my opinion, is also organization silos in how we operate as an organization, and how we are collecting this data in multiple data banks, data lakes, etc., which are a lot of times fragmented, not connected, are not talking to each other, and then that kind of leads to disconnected, disjointed data at different places, right? And then I think the final version also is also knowing when to trust automation versus when to lean on human judgment. Today we think that with AI coming on board, AI will do everything for us, right? But that's not the case. Like the whole point is there is reason why human intuition or gut feeling, as we call it, or the analytical skills that humans bring to the table is equally important, because the data collection that we do today is just gathering of data, right? But insight drawing from that data for important and outcome-led decision making, is where I think the large gap is. So it's not a tech problem in my mind. It's a human problem. It's a leadership problem. It's a culture problem, right? And I think that's why this conversation it makes it so much more important.
Right, exactly. And connecting to this, like, I want to ask Sneha one thing, like your expertise in media strategy and partnerships puts you right at the front lines, right? Where data has to turn into actionable campaigns. So why do you think like organizations still struggle to use it, even though they can do it for faster decisions?
Thanks, Anupama. And as you rightly said, that a lot of data dependency in my field, especially when I'm making a social media strategy, a PR strategy, or a social media strategy for the impact sector, a lot of our dependency is on social media platform data, which in a lot of times is, we do not know if it's accurate, we do not know if it's, if it's sacrosanct, and we should go by that data and make our decisions. And in my past experience, what I have tried and done is continuously test that data. If my dashboard is showing that 40% of my user base is people consuming content for the campaign that I've put out last week were women. Is that actually coming from women? So maybe I try doing a ask me now, or a feedback or something like that on, say, an Instagram or a LinkedIn, to figure that out, whether actually women are part of my audience, or is the data very accurate, and if my strategy is in the right direction. So I
Right.
think this dependency on larger platforms is really, really critical for us. And because a lot of our decisions post the social media campaigns that we put out whether it's partnerships or strategic planning, is completely based on this data. So yeah, I think continuously testing the data, filtering it out, putting out surveys, I think that at least it has helped me in my past work to understand if the data is actually accurate and if I'm in the right direction.
Right, exactly. And for that balance and for the strike of balance, I have a question for Dhaval. Like, you have helped several consumer brands, right, embracing digital first strategies. So you can still see that organizations are still drowning in data, but still they are still like starving for insights. So why do you think that gap is still there in terms of data collection and meaningful action? Like, why is that? Dhaval, your mic is on mute. You have to unmute yourself. Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
We live in a world drowning in data, yet
yeah.
starving for decision. The problem is not data or a lack of data. It's a gap between information interpretation and the action. For example, I come from a consumer goods industry where uh, the question arises that should we build the community or should we invest behind the mass advertising? That's
Mhm.
exactly where the human judgment comes in the picture. So the whole premise is the mindset. So the practice which I follow typically is that draw a clear consumer problem statement. Once you have the statement very clear, add the data to it. Is it making sense or not? Whenever we go across, we always talk about the sales are down. That's an observation. That's not an insight. So insight has to be why consumers are not buying, and it has to be backed up by the data. So if the statement is not clear, the data is just going to add the noise. It will not give you the real picture. Let me give you an interesting example, which is pertaining to the India. So
Mhm.
India is now becoming a cancer capital of the world. So if I want to introduce something in a immunity based product, the data very clearly says that 30% of the cancers are coming from the top three states, which is Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, and West Bengal, and rest follow accordingly. And out of that, also 20 to 21% of the cancer patients are under age of 45, and that too the oral cancer. So if tomorrow, if I want to launch an immunity-based toothpaste, then I know where my media spend has to be, and I know the priority one, priority two, priority three, and my communications accordingly. So that's how you have to play with the data. So basically, we get obsessed with the data, but where is the interpretation? So every data needs to tell story. But before that story, you need to understand the consumer story, what they are thinking about. We go
Mhm.
other way around. We figure out dashboards, reports, and everything, and then we go behind that. Rather, we first talk to the consumer, what they are saying, is the data is correlating there or not. So it makes
Right.
the story quite interesting.
Just a
Absolutely.
quick question, sorry,
Yes,
Dhaval.
yes, yes, Neha.
When you say talk to the consumer, you mean how do you go about doing that? Do you actually go on ground, or do you do that via campaigns or surveys?
No, this is actually going and talking to them on the
Okay,
ground.
okay. So you're going beyond the dashboards and the
That's right.
technology and actually going on ground. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. And like marketing leadership, Ronak, like comes with a lot of pressure, right? Of making faster decisions from massive data sets. So like how do you personally address that challenge as 361?
Sure. So I think Anupama, the key there lies in knowing what are the problems or challenges that we are solving, for which, like how Dhaval said, it's genuinely critical to first understand what are the consumer problems in the first place, right? Because if I don't know the problems, I don't know what I'm solving for. And if I don't know what I'm solving for, then I don't know what I'm looking in the humongous data sets that I have in the first place, right? So I think it's
Right.
a integration problem, right? I think what a lot of people end up doing is looking at data and looking at dashboards, like how Sneha said, right? But dashboards are essentially basically distillation of the data that you have, right? Which
Right.
can be used in decision making to drive outcomes. Right, so for us at 361, what we do is like Dhaval said, right? Interaction with our consumers is very high. We do a lot of events on ground, for example, where I'm able to interact with these consumers in an intimate one-on-one basis, right? We also do a lot of CSATs, NPS, so whether it's RNPS, TNPS, wherein also there is a lot of, so while the opportunities to meet my consumers are limited on ground, right? Maybe 10, 12, 15 times a year, 20 times a year, right? But around the year, I could have broken journeys in the setup.
Right.
I could have errors, I could have poor servicing, etc. And vast organization, multiple people involved, we could have those experiences. It's very important to capture those experiences at the right moment to understand the emotion of the customer and then address those immediately, right? So we do a lot of these surveys, RNPS, TNPS, to gauge how a consumer is feeling and behaving, even in a scenario when we are not able to interact with them face to face. And all that information kind of flows in. Also, we deal with multitude of consumers, right? So we have wealth management, we have asset management. We've acquired ET money. So I've got mass affluent to ultra high net worth individuals. Somebody who's investing 10 lakh rupees or through an ET money account to somebody who's investing almost 150, 200 crores a single check issuance to us. Right. I also have a mutual fund, and it's a variety. So we also try and look at what is the persona of my consumer and what could be the potential challenges that the consumer is facing in their customer journeys. Right. So every customer journey is different for us in that sense. Right. And that's how data allows us to look at different consumers with their sets of problems, challenges, needs, requirements, right? And it also gives us insight building, right? If I know of 150 or 200 consumers of a specific category are behaving in a certain manner,
Right.
I largely deduce that consumer group or cohort will largely have similar needs, right? And can I assume that to about 70% of accuracy?
Oh, wow.
Right. So I think that's how we kind of move about at 361.
So I have a question for Ronak. So Ronak, is it a B2B or B2C?
We have both, Dhaval. We have a B2B where we also cater to with mutual fund distributors. I also do a B2C where I directly deal with clients.
So I have a very interesting point out here, specifically India as per se. When it comes to personal finance, we take it very, very lightly, and it is just people, company like 360 is now helping consumer to understand. I keep asking this question to everyone who are now thinking about the personal finance, maybe after 15 years of earning.
Sure.
So for any illness, you go to a doctor. For any financial audit, you go to CA. And for any designing of your house, you go to the interior designer. But when it comes to personal finance, why do you have to rely on family WhatsApp group?
True.
Okay, so you have to talk to certified financial expert who can guide you from top to bottom. I happen to speak to one of the bike rider who happens to travel across the India on a bike. He's just 25-year-old guy. I asked him, "Do you have a term insurance?" He said, "Why the hell I need a term insurance? I'm just 25 right now." So he said, "How many siblings you are?" He said, "I'm only the one son to my parents." He said, "Tomorrow, if anything goes wrong in your ride, who will take care of your parents?" So these are the small consumer insight. If you pick it up, make them aware. Listen, it's not about the personal finance start at the 35, 40. It start as soon as you start earning.
True, absolutely, Dhaval. You've hit the nail on the head, and that's reality. Look at the insurance penetration in our country, for example, right? And data really tells us of the appalling story about how many billion people we have in our country and how many insurance policies are being issued.
The good part is that government of India is reducing GST from 18% to 5% on insurance. So that's another fillip to be
correct. Yeah. Plus they've also brought in yojanas for the marginalized, right? So servants, rickshaw pullers, rickshaw auto drivers, where you can now get an insurance policy for as little as 500 rupees a premium.
The problem with the Indian society,
3 lakh rupees.
sure, the problem with the Indian society is that till the time we don't touch 70, nothing is going to touch us. That's people living a foolish paradise. As the data which I told you about, we are becoming a cancer capital of the world, heart attack capital of the world, diabetes capital of the world. What else information you want?
No, I'll just add to this conversation here. I work for a media PR agency that deals with BFSI clients, so insurers and wealth management companies, banks, etc. Now, they mostly come up with queries to understand what are the young people investing and where are they investing. So, the way, and coming back to our topic on data, so we actually are now, going beyond the regular social media platforms. We're looking at different social media accounts, whether it's Instagram, Reddit, and Snapchat, where actually people are discussing these topics. The younger people are talking about it, but they're just clueless about it. First, how to go about it, because most of them are doing part-time work. The newer jobs are not giving that sort of insurance facilities. Second is that I think there's also an issue of having the ability to pay the premium. So these are all conversations, data derived from platform based on engagements and the kind of conversations and communities that we are seeing on social media platforms. I don't want to single out one and talk about one only, but these are topics that are being discussed. But there are also challenges, as I said, the younger crop coming into the workforce, I think, does not see this as a priority or realizes only when a COVID hits them. But there's also a challenge of the premiums, the salary is not matching the premiums, etc. So just from the insight gathered from the work I've done so far, I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. So according to you, the biggest roadblock, is technology, people, or culture then? What do you, if you want to summarize your point in that way?
I think it's behavior.
Yeah.
Right, which essentially is a mixture of people and culture, right? But I don't think tech is an issue, right? We didn't have technology earlier, right? Look at the human race that has been evolving for so many years. Where was tech earlier? There wasn't a tech earlier, right? Forget too far away, about 20 years ago. Where was tech? Right, but
Right.
people were buying insurance and people were consuming, right, in the way, and people were banking and people were doing everything, right? But they found a way
Right.
to do it. Maybe it was tedious, maybe it was challenging, right? But it still happened,
Right. Absolutely.
right? So I
And
think it's behavior, and like Dhaval said, right? I mean, cancer data, etc.
yeah.
Insurance is a classic behavior issue, right? The quintessential question: why do I need it?
Agreed,
Right.
agreed. And Sneha, I have also noticed that you have guided brands to collaborations where timing is key. Timing is everything, right? With data pipelines often being slow. How can
Mm.
leaders ensure that they don't miss that critical partnership opportunities because decisions took so long? What's your take on that?
I think data monitoring and evaluating and studying data should not be a last minute call when there's a project in hand. At organizations where I've worked so far, whether it was a consumer tech app, especially where, a lot of brand collaborations would happen, data monitoring was a regular exercise. Every Monday or, Monday call or something like that, we would discuss data, whether it's the number of users that have come on board, what kind of users, bifurcate the user groups, what kind of news consumption is happening. And this I'm talking about daily hunt. We would regularly monitor data, and not because there's a campaign or there's a brand collaboration on our plate, and hence let's look at data. That was a regular exercise where everyone associated, from partnerships to finance to content programming teams, were looking at data as a regular exercise. Hence, when any project, any big revenue opportunity would come at the doorstep, we would be well prepared to take on that opportunity, saying that this is what we have, and maybe we can improve this number by adding so and so forces and taking action towards it, so that we get this campaign going. So I think data should not be like, okay, today there's a collaboration, let's get the data. It should be a regular, a business as usual, part of business as usual activity. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And putting this point with connection, like I have a question for Dhaval. Like, given your background in brand transformation, right? How do you see the marketing leaders balancing creative intuition with the push for data-driven decisions? Do you think often like they outweigh each other?
Okay, so let me give an anecdote to this. So
Yeah.
if I want to lose the weight, uh, typically I'll keep hearing is that I need to do a diet, focus on my diet, reduce my diet, and
Mhm.
like 80% is diet and 20% is workout. So that's not how it works. When it comes to marketing, it is 100% of the data and 100% of the consumer insight. So it
Mhm.
goes hand in hand with each other. So if my data is saying something, then I need to go back and talk to the consumer. If my consumers are saying something, then I need to go back and check with the data. The data should not create a noise. It has to interpret something about it. As I mentioned earlier also, that it should not be say that my sales are down, but why my sales are down, which area my sales are down, what is the specific area which is creating a problem? Is it a trade problem? Is it a consumer problem? And it should tie back to the business P&L. The whole idea about marketing is not about driving a great campaign. It's about eventually driving your brand P&L, which will fund your next influencer campaign. So the way people look outside. So I come from a background called and I have worked in the brand like Lux, Dove, Pears. So you name it, these are the famous brands of India. So people outside this fraternity thinks that Unilever is all about campaigns, talking to the flashy agency and all. No, it doesn't work that way. The role of a brand manager or a marketer in Unilever is start with a business problem. You look at the data and then you go and talk to the agencies and what exactly it needs to be done. And whatever has been, let me give an example. There was a bathtub ad by Shah Rukh Khan in 2005. So before selecting Shah Rukh Khan and other film actors, there was complete research was done.
Mm.
And why this particular celebrity has to be taken? What is the background check? What kind of value addition it can add to the brand? So everything is data backed up. But when I say data backed up, it also has a consumer story.
Mm. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, the storytelling plays a huge role in data decisions.
Again, it is a very cliche word which has come across and which I keep seeing on a LinkedIn title. People say that storytelling, storytelling. I'm a
Yeah.
storyteller.
Yeah.
Storyteller is Javed Akhtar, not marketeers. We are a story listeners.
Correct.
And the
Correct.
storytellers are the ad agency. When I tell
Right.
them a story, they
Yeah.
create storytelling out of it.
Yeah.
So as a marketeer, I'm a story listener, not a storyteller. Because my job as a marketeer is to bring money to the business, not to just keep telling the story.
Ronak has something to add to this. I think he's absolutely agreeing to what Dhaval is saying. Anything you want to put in remarks for
Oh,
Ronak?
no,
Over to you.
absolutely, Anupam. I think that was bang on, right? See, today, this whole digital
Yeah.
space that has come up, right? I mean, we've got
Yeah.
content creators, influencers, storytellers, we bloggers. I don't know. There's tons of names right around it. But see, at the end of
Yeah.
the day, from a corporation point of view, every unit, every
Yeah.
department's role is to add value to the current business and move it forward. Right? And that's the quintessential reason for every department's existence. Be it
Right.
marketing, be it tech, be it ops, be it client servicing, be it product, be it finance, doesn't really matter. Right? Obviously, marketing plays a far larger role in that growth, being a growth driver.
Mm-hmm.
It's because we are able to narrate and influence decisions in our favor, right? In the favor of the brand, and ability to leave a great experience for the consumer from a recall point of view so that the consumer can come back, right? Because every time I'm spending monies to attract a consumer, if I don't have longevity, right? then we are just going around in circles, and thus data essentially allows us to look at saying, okay, what do we want to talk about? Where is the consumer pain point? What is it that plaguing them? Do we have a solution as an organization which we can provide to the problems that the consumer is having, and can we solve their problem? Businesses core existence is to solve problems for consumers, right? Whether it's FMCG, whether it's wealth management, whether it's insurance, whether it's doctors, pharmaceutical industry, doesn't really matter, right? They're all existing is to solve problems for individuals and humans. Right?
Yeah.
That's the key, right? And then data is essentially an input to marketing, which is an output.
And there is another angle to data which we have to consider, that is risk and privacy. So, Ronak, like in financial services, right? Like the data sets are humongous, enormous, right? So, risk, compliance, consumer behavior, how do you filter out the noise and act quickly on the true signals? Like, what's your take on this?
So, well, on the wealth management side, it's actually very simple. We straight up ask upfront to anybody who's visiting our digital assets, for example, or reacting to any of our
Yeah,
campaigns.
being B2B and B2C, like how do you differentiate that?
Right, so I'm talking about B2C first, and then I'll come to
Yeah,
B2C. So the B2C,
absolutely.
any campaigns or digital assets where the person is leaving, say, a information set, right? PR information for us. We are very blatant in asking, saying, okay, what is the quantum that you're looking at investing with us? Right? There are ways of doing it. A lot of companies don't do it. We found this to be the best way forward because it saves the consumer a lot of time and agony, and it saves us a lot of time and agony and energy in kind of having conversations. So, the moment I know exactly what the quantum that they are looking at investing, I am able to direct that query or lead to the right business vertical within my system to kind of reach to a quicker conclusion on the conversation. Because today we are realizing more and more people have gone superbly impatient. Even the 2 Maggi noodles they want to cook in 2 seconds today. So even that patience is gone, right? So the whole idea, how can you fulfill a requirement in the shortest possible time and in the best possible way, right? And that's on the consumer side. On the B2B side, obviously the challenge, obviously the whole process is very different because there it's slightly long-term dialogue, matching of, because there when we're talking to a B2B, so when I'm talking to my mutual fund distributors, for example, it's not about what I have to offer to him or her, but it's what I have to offer to them, which will add value to their consumer. Right. And so that's the journey that I have to quickly establish and kind of bring to the table of saying, okay, what are the consumer sets that you're dealing with? Are you dealing with professionals, housewives, entrepreneurs, small or medium enterprises, large corporations, etc. Right. So quick understanding of their universe to be able to say, okay, if you're dealing with this set, then these are the funds or products or opportunities that you can quickly take, and and it can be a win-win situation for all three parties in the process, right? But that's how essentially, and then again, risk, as a financial services firm, we run risk at every breath we take, right? Because if somebody that we might be irking or is not happy with the outcome that we've suggested, right? And I think in that front, in the last 17 years of our history, we are extremely proud that we've not had any large, major, or any kind of such challenge or issues with any of our consumers, any formal complaints gone to any of the regulators, because that's a measure for how we are managing risk and how we are managing expectations. And we're very clear with the customer saying that we don't work on a return basis. Typically, Indian consumers, when they want to come and invest, acha, aap kya return doge?
Right.
That's the first question.
Yeah. Got it.
That's
Yes.
something that we completely stay away from, saying that, sir, we don't commit any return, right? What we
Hmm.
do is we will build a financial portfolio based on your risk appetite, financial goals, age, other factors. There are multiple factors that kind of get involved when you're working with a consumer.
Right. And that was really insightful. Like, Sneha, let me bring you in here. Like, you are working with well, like a lot of media strategies and your focuses are on partnerships, right? But sometimes data might suggest a certain direction. So while instincts might pull away in another way. So how do you reconcile those conflicts when advising clients?
So the kind of partnerships I work for are media platform partnerships,
Yeah,
where
right.
we suggest our clients to participate in certain media campaigns, and tell them that these are the platforms they should be investing their time and energy and resources, and regularly take part in their campaign activities. So in situations like this, I think what we tell them is that, okay, the data might point, the first thing that they say is that, we need immediate returns, we need immediate numbers. In directions like this, when situations like this, we tell them that, okay, you might not get immediate numbers right now, but we give them we give them the larger picture. We also give them examples of campaigns that have similar campaigns that have worked on other platforms, or with other companies,
Hmm.
where they have carried out a similar campaign on that particular platform and they've seen results. So what we really convince, and we try to convince them in most cases, is to have the virtue of patience with some campaigns, because while they immediately seek numbers, we tell them that the kind of numbers that they're seeking, we show them data projections from successful campaigns that have happened. I also work on with nonprofits where partnerships are more of stakeholder management partnerships. So these are not related to media. In those cases, I think it's also, apart from just the data and, just where what is matching, we also look at facets such as, the organization structure, the kind of funding that the company has, the kind of team that the company has. So I think just data alone does not factor in when we do partnerships in the nonprofit sector. It's also a lot of other attributes which are related to the organization and the reputation of the company that it comes with.
Absolutely. Like I agree. And in terms of the factors, right? Some factors I want to ask something to Dhaval, right? Like let's bring in talking from a brand and a digital perspective. So many brands invest in real-time dashboards, but studies says that they are like less than 30% of the insights get translated into campaigns. Why do you think that's the last mile of decision making is so tough?
It is a mindset to begin with. So just to add Ronak and Sneha, so we keep talking about, at least in Unilever, I'm not so sure about other organizations, but Unilever, we talk about ROMI, which is return on marketing investment. But I go one more extra mile, which is a very typical Marwadi way of thinking. So it's ROMI. ROMI can be happen in 6 months, 6 years, 60 years. That does not solve my problem. So the next level for that is a ROTI, is a return on time invested. The amount of money and the resources which is going behind any particular campaign. What is the time I'm investing behind it, and what is the return I'm getting there? So the challenge for the marketer, and one of the biggest skill set for any marketer right now, he has to be a forward thinker. He is like an astrologer. He needs to predict future. That if I do this particular collab, if I put particular money, what kind of outcome I'm looking at. So that vision has to be very clear. So what happens is that we get obsessed with the daily reports, daily sales report, what's happening, what's not happening. But what is the information we are juicing out of that? And that's where the mindset comes into the picture. And as Ronak rightly said, that it's a culture which has to bring into the organization. It comes from the top to bottom. It doesn't go from bottom to top. So entire organization, if start talking in the language of the insight, and insight can come from any possible source. It can be data, it can be consumer, it can be a conversation over a coffee also in the organization, or it can be a good, or probably at the canteen also. So as a marketer, we need to be obsessed with observation, which is leading to the insight. And another problem out here is the people get confused between observation and insight.
Mm.
So if my
Right.
sales are down, it's an observation. But what is the real reason behind that? So that's very important.
Yes.
I just want to add to Dhaval's point here that, the obsession
Yeah.
with numbers and reports, daily reports, that's also
Mm.
part of our, when you're working with an agency or with a app, that's also part of our daily tasks. But sometimes, when I've worked for a smaller campaign with a nonprofit, and the observation there was, even if you're getting, say, a very little traction in your initial days, try to capture who are the people who are coming, who are the people who are engaging. Just because the numbers show are less at that point of time does not mean that you ignore that engagement. I think every engagement, every drop of engagement needs to be considered and evaluated and observed carefully. And you never know what kind of insight you might get from that particular engagement. So I just feel we are very little obsessed with, especially with when in respect to social media, that the numbers should be numbers aane chahiye. But when little numbers come in, at least don't ignore that and try and capture the most, juice out the most amount of information out of it.
Absolutely. That was such a valid point to make. I completely agree. And in terms of the essence of capturing is absolutely important in terms of data, right? And like for example, culture is key, right, Ronak? And how do you build a marketing team? Like for example, observation and insight we were just talking about, right? So how do you build that team where data is not just hierarchy, is just a gut feeling, or is it just guiding decision making consistently? How do you put it that way?
Well, we are an organization of 1,400 people. So we are 1,400 marketeers eventually at the end of the day, because everybody has an opinion on marketing. Color क्या use होना चाहिए, font क्या use होना चाहिए, design थोड़ा इधर उधर तो मजा नहीं आया and all that. And I think Dhaval also, I'm sure, must
Yeah, in
agree.
that case, Unilever has 20,000 employees, so 20,000 marketeers.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think no, I think uh see it used to be difficult earlier, but I don't think it's difficult anymore. Because I think more people in the marketing realm are now not looking at just cute creative designs, but also looking at information, data, knowledge, business outlook, right? To be building a more holistic marketing approach, right? And increasingly, at least in our setup here, you know, the conversations with the senior leaderships are far more business driven than campaign driven. So campaigns are an outcome of business challenge that we are trying to
Right.
solve, for example, right? And I think that's the narrative. Then it becomes very easy to hire people, because then you're not hiring people for skill sets, you're hiring people for attitude and the mindset they are bringing to the table, right? And then that then allows us to build a great culture of right attitude and mindset, the ability to learn, ability to innovate, ability to fail. I think for us, that's very important. The team fails a lot. And then that allows us to learn a lot. So fail fast, fail quick, turn around, improvise, and move forward, right? And 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 thankfully, the organization is very high on risk taking as a because we come with a very entrepreneurial mindset, even though we are a publicly listed company, right? And then
Yeah.
that allows us to ensure that with small amounts, small budgets, we are able to do a lot more, innovate, and then that's a culture that we build in the team, right? And then the moment we build that in the team, then it's very easy to kind of take that out in the marketplace.
Yes.
And then I think another reason also, quickly adding that, is also uh, the agency partners that we work with, right? Literally live and breathe the brand for many years, so they're not frequent changes, right? And that also
Right.
allows us to stay relevant and change with the times and evolve with them.
Just to add
That.
to the Ronak's point,
Yeah.
I just have a fundamental question, and it differs from organization to organization because I have worked aside from Unilever, I worked in retail industry as well. So what happens in Unilever, the marketings are like king. So they call the shots and sales are the support function. Other way around, I'm not sure about Ronak if you can help me with this. In other organizations, it seems that marketing is treated like a support function. उनका काम है emailer बनाने का, brochure बनाने का और poster चिपकाने का.
Yeah.
Guys, give me a break. So today we are living in an attention economy. My sales guys are not going to bring attention for my consumer. The marketing folks are going to bring the attention. So the marketing funnel has changed completely. Earlier, it was just an upper two layer. As a matter of fact, the triangle has got inverted. So now it's an inverted triangle, which means the top 4-5 priority comes for the marketing guys, and balance to whatever is left is the sales who goes and talk to the customers. So the job of a marketeer in this attention economy is tremendously pressurized and quite interesting at the same time. So we are living in the world where data is not only helping us, but it also gives a good compass, which will help my sales guy to break the business or probably crack the deal with the consumer or customers in case of B2B. So the whole point out here is it's not about support function. It is a main function. And I wanted to put it very loudly out here that marketing is not a support function.
So I really agree with
Yes,
the
ma'am.
Dhaval's point, because I've worked
Mm.
for smaller setups where marketing and communications, they kind of are treated like, okay, your work is not the main job, the main core job is happening somewhere else. But it's very important for the marketing team to really have access to data, or not just the data, even the conversations that are happening in terms of strategy, in terms of the verbiage that's used by the organization for other functions. So I think that also helps helps with campaigns and content that you're creating for the brand, whether it's a B2B or a B2C brand. So I think this working in silos and treating marketing as like, some separate team, that they are this separate team and, you are working separately, that does not work. I think it's the fulcrum of everything that's happening at the organization.
Yeah, and Sneha, like, I mean, looking at your work in the new media, right? Like, how do you think the next generation of tools, like, say, AI-powered analytics dashboards, can empower lean teams to, like, move as fast as big players with larger data resources?
I
Can you
think
just enlighten us?
Anupama, the non-profit sector, especially, they don't have a lot of organizations, don't have the budgets to buy or take subscriptions to very expensive data tools. But with a lot of the free tools that are available, a lot of the data crunching tools that are available, I think the not-for-profit sector will really benefit, because most of the time they are work in very lean structures, and their data is very, very critical for them, because they're also capturing not just the data captured by the organization, but they're also looking at data from government resources and other external sites as well. So I think for leaner structures, it really helps. Especially with a lot of the free tools that are available, but uh, the the core remains the same. I mean, you might crunch the data, you might segregate the data, but what you derive out of it, that basic formula still needs to be fed into the younger generation, older generation, be any generation. I think that core support, the core emphasis on analyzing data and what to make out of it and how to kind of put it into execution still remains critical.
Yes, it is definitely critical. And talking about critical, like, Dhaval, like you have often worked with the intersection of performance marketing and consumer engagement, right? So, like with AI promising to simplify complexity, like, do you see AI tools genuinely helping marketers making quicker calls, or are they just adding another layer of dependency?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. So what will happen? AI can help you in spotting the pattern. AI can help you which consumer will churn next. But
Right.
AI will never able to answer you why. So the why will come from a human judgment. So yes, I would strongly say that AI will help, but you can't depend on it. It will help
Yeah.
you to validate your data, but the why has to come from me or person like Ronak or Sneha, or in that case any marketer. So all these tools are here to help you, not to rely on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely. You want to add
not
something, Sneha? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not data, right? Like even people today are saying, social media, we use AI to make content, make captions. I mean, if there's no human touch to it, there's no human sensibilities to it. I don't, work becomes simpler, yes, work becomes faster, yes, but without the human intervention of critical thinking, all these tools will not be able to successfully execute their tasks.
Absolutely. Ronak, do you want to add to this? What is your opinion regarding this?
See, I think
Regarding AI and the tools and taking over?
no, I think see AI is a great invention. I think it just depends on how we are able to use it, leverage it, and build it to our advantage, right? I think and in fact I had some notes in front of me, right? So I think AI's role, right, is essentially to review all this digital data that's coming in, analyze it, uh,
Mm.
uh, showcase the decisions that it's taking, right, and execute output on the screen, right? A human's role is to curate, which is essentially do fact check, analyze the analysis of the AI and the decision that the AI has taken for execution output, right? Essentially, like what Dhaval said. The why comes from us, humans. I don't think AI has reached, at least today, it hasn't reached a stage where it can outrun human intelligence, or more importantly, the intuition that the humans are able to bring to the table, the gut feel as we call it. Right? I don't think AI has intuition. AI is a great exchange of conversation, right? It can be a pairing partner, right? But it's not somebody, it can deduce logically to come to a certain decision, but whether the decision is beneficial for you or not, in the context, in the situation, is only a human can probably decide. I think so that's where it kind of works.
So from the
So how
brand
do you?
perspective,
Oh,
I would
sorry.
just
Yeah.
add to the Ronak's point.
Yeah.
Human interpretation still matter for brand positioning. AI will not do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm. Absolutely. So like how like at 361, then customer insights may like of course play a huge role in personalization, right? So how do you balance that need to use data creatively while also keeping that regulatory check and ethical considerations in mind? How do you do?
Yeah, I think it's very simple. You have to look at the human side of things. See, we for us, data is important, but relationships are far more important. We are a very
True.
relationship-driven organization.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Data is important for me to kind of possibly create those moments of wow, right? If I know, say a certain client loves football, can I send them to a football match that's happening somewhere? And if there's some footballers in the country who's come down, and can I get a private session with them or something like that, right? So those are experiences that I'm able to curate based on the information that I have.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, why is the customer coming to me? Not to get those football matches, right? But he's coming to get the alpha on the portfolio that he's investing with me. Okay.
Correct. Right.
That's primary.
Mm.
And there, obviously, it will be a mix of data and my fund manager and my CIOs and my equity experts and all my product experts,
Mm.
right? Which is essentially a combination of human and in certain cases, maybe some machines also, right?
Mm.
But yeah, so in terms of how we engage with our audience is largely relationship driven.
Exactly. And in terms of like this context, like I want to ask Dhaval one thing, like as a consultant, right? Like you've seen companies at very different stages of data maturity. So what are the best practices of all the common aha moments? Like have you noticed when brands have finally started converting data into that actual business outcomes?
Actually, it's not correct. Everybody enjoys the data. So right from top to bottom, even the
Right.
security guards enjoys the data. कि आज मेरा इतना
Hmm.
count हो गया है. So the thing
Right.
is that the culture is there. The problem, as I mentioned earlier in my note, is the interpretation of it.
Right.
So interpretation is also happening coincidentally. The problem is to bring that cultural mindset that every day it has to be part of our life. Like for example, you keep enjoying 400, 300 slides of a new campaign shared by 4 different agencies. But if I give you the 300 slide of a data, you will sleep definitely. Or probably it will
Yeah.
look like a Tare Zameen. So the whole moot point is now every organization is moving toward a direction that data is not just a report card. It is a
Hmm.
decision compass. So that aha moment is already happening in whichever form it is. And yeah, be it a small organization or large organization, again, the data comes with a cost and it is very heavy cost. So the roadmap for any organization is whatever data it is there, they have to be very crystal clear in their mind. What are the data I need to look at it? And it just
Right.
not be a sales are down or sales are up. It has to go little
Right.
beyond. So the aha
Absolutely.
moment, what you're talking about,
Hmm.
is already happening, and it can be in any form of smart.
Hmm.
Yeah, and just to add on that, what Sneha told that a non-profit
Yeah.
organization, initial success is there. So that's an aha moment. And what you do with that initial success, it's it's the job of a marketer to immediately tap to those success. See, the whole point is that we keep going behind the failure. Acha, we failed in that. Now this is a learning out of this. But we
Hmm.
fail to understand the success also gives you tremendous insights. And as a best practice, which I follow myself also, that whenever there's a success, I do my checks there. So what I made it right, why it got successful, and what are the thing I can learn from here, and I can move to the next level, and I can add +1 to that success and make it a double success.
Absolutely. Yeah. With today's like fragmented media landscape, like Sneha, like short form videos, creator-led campaigns, social commerce, how essential is data in guiding where the brand should place their bets? Can you
It's really
enlighten
important.
us?
It's
Yeah.
really important because when you're saying placing your bets is basically placing resources and money. Not every brand has the intention or the bandwidth to spend money on various platforms. So, as a marketer or as an agency, or even if you're working for a nonprofit, single-handedly, so it's our job to kind of tell that this is the platform that works for you. How do we do that? We look at case studies of certain other similar organizations that have been on certain platforms and have run campaigns. Or if you're already doing campaigns on say 4 to 5 platforms, and you're not seeing results from a particular platform as much as you're seeing from another platform, then you try to kind of balance it out and put your energies where you're seeing more results. And that is all this is data driven decision making that happens from time to time. So I think selection of the platform, how much money you put in, how much resources you put in, all that decision making happens from the data that you derive from the platforms themselves. And again, in the enough in the field, most of the fields I work for, it's very dependent on the external platform. So we have to depend on the data that it's giving.
Yes. And on that, I would like to ask one advice from Mr. Ronak, like as a marketing leader, right? Like you have seen firsthand how fast the ecosystem is shifting. If you had to give one piece of advice to the peers on building data-driven leadership cultures, what would it be?
I think one advice is essentially look at the evolution, right? I think that's very important. Whether it's the organization evolution, whether it's the department evolution, whether it's the customer facing evolution, right? So essentially, what I mean is how the bricks are moving, right? And so, for example, a very quick example, at a 361, for example, we started with physical engagements, right? Which was reliable. As we grew larger, we moved to digital, right? Which allowed us scalability. And today, we are now building ecosystems, right? Which is next level or higher than digital, right? So I have a problem first mindset, right? Because data can give you information, but if you don't know what information you're looking for, the data is gibberish, right?
Right.
So the data can answer queries that you may have with relevant information and insight drawing. So have the questions ready, have the problem statements ready, and then go to data to see, okay, if I have this problem statement, what is my data telling me? And then how can I corroborate it? Because I think that's very important. A lot of people just look at question, look at the data and conclude. The corroboration doesn't happen, right? So you go back to your consumer set to corroborate, saying, this is our understanding, is it right or wrong? And then
Right.
you build your solutions around them.
Yeah. Would you like to add to that, like Sneha and Dhaval, like what will be the one piece of advice to the organization struggling to bridge that one data to decision gap? What it would be? Let's start with Sneha.
Right.
Oh, no, no, let's start with Dhaval. Dhaval wanted to speak. Sorry. Okay,
No
Dhaval, let's go.
It's okay,
Yeah.
Sneha.
Yeah. Okay, go Sneha. Go.
No, I
Yeah.
think I mean, it's very similar to what Mr. Ronak just said, that first learn to, you might have all the resources, learn to interpret the data and study the data, and don't study data only because there's a task in hand. I think study data regularly, with the organization, whatever the campaign that you're working for. Make it a habit. Don't do it because there is your boss sitting on your head, or there's a campaign, or there's a SOS, the situation in the organization. That would be my 2 cents.
Please add your advice,
Yeah.
Dhaval.
Oh, sure. So,
Yeah.
the first of all, the statement itself should not be made that how the organization should become a data-driven organization. It is
Right.
always has to be a consumer-driven organization. So
Yeah.
the culture has to be talking about the consumers and only consumers. Data is just supporting to it. And it is just validating that whatever money I'm going to spend behind this particular problem or the next campaign or whatever it is, data needs to be backed it up. Earlier days, 20 years before, a lot of campaign used to be more on gut feeling and direct consumer conversation. And that was also done by very limited organizations. But now the organization mindset has to be a consumer driven mindset. And to make it a consumer driven mindset, the data needs to be adding to it. It just can't be a gut feeling. Even if you're doing an influencer campaign where I know the data is very limited, there has to be some human interpretation which is backed up by some data.
Right.
So it should go in that way. So the first statement has to be any organization, it has to start with a consumer driven mindset, a consumer driven organization. So today, eventually, we are solving problem of consumers. We are not solving problem of our internal problems. So the first thing priority goes out there. So the whole point out here is that we should also ask the question to ourselves when we talk to the consumer: how consumer are looking to our brands? How consumer are looking to this organization? Do you want them to think that it's a data-driven organization or it's an extremely consumer-friendly driven organization? To understand consumer spoken problem, but more importantly, an unspoken problem. A lot of business lies in the unspoken problem, which we fail to understand just by digging the data. Data is just telling you the spoken problem. Where do we get the answer for unspoken problem? Yeah. So just to add an example for Ronak's industry, I don't know what to do with my money, but do I also know whom I talk to about my money? As I mentioned, it's a WhatsApp family group, but that's not a solution. So unspoken problem, first they don't know, and second problem is whom they go to. Because I'm not aware that who is this certified financial advisor, where who can tell me from right from my term insurance till the putting money in equity or probably intra-trade. Yeah. So that's what my take on as far as data is concerned.
Wow, we have learned a lot today in terms of how tools and technologies are still there, but consumer is of course priority, and the real challenge is often lying in culture, clarity, and execution, right? So it is just not about collecting data, and it's about empowering teams to act on it quickly, so with confidence and targeting, and main thing is consumers, right? So really thank you audience for joining us. It's the live is we are about short time and the time is about to get over. So we'll continue the conversation in future. And thank you, Dhaval, Sneha, and Ronak for such a rich and candid discussion. The insights were really, really good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
so much.
Anupama, for organizing this. Thanks. Thanks,
Thank
panelists.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.